Now, I'm keen to get your perspective on the late, great Barry Humphries. We lost an absolute comic genius, and we have to acknowledge that the miserable malcontents of the Melbourne International Comedy Festival tried to cancel this man. He was one of their founders, and they still tried to cancel him for supposedly transphobic comments. But his work lives on in thousands of clips like this one. Here is Barry Humphries as Dame Edna talking to Canadian songstress Katie Lang, who at the time was probably the most famous lesbian in the world.
I'm going to talk about something personal. This could offend people. I'm never one to run away from confrontations. I don't think there's anything that two intelligent women cannot discuss. There's no taboo. I make no apologies for the words, for the terminology, perhaps the coarse terminology that I'm going to use now. When did you first know you were Canadian?
Douglas, we have lost a comic great, not only a genius, but brave. He never backed away. He never apologised. He never tried to appease the haters. He kept doing comedy and kept doing it bravely.
I really do think he was the funniest man who ever lived. I was just a huge fan from the first time I was aware of him. I was lucky enough to know him a little and meet him at events and others, and we had mutual friends. And he was as funny in private as he was in public. I saw him perform many times in public, and as I saw him in the role of Dame Edna in particular, just mowing down the front rows of the audience, I remember on one occasion in America sliding down my seat and almost underneath the seat in front, thinking, I can't believe people put up with it. He just was, he was brave, he was hilarious, he was naturally funny, he was just a wizard of technique as a comedian, an unbelievably cultured man as well, unbelievably well-read. You say he also just stuck by his principles. These people in the Melbourne Festival, they'll be forgotten. They already are. Barry Humphries, I think, will never be forgotten as long as people want to laugh. I'll never forget that in the dying months of another great Australian and a great friend of mine, Clive James, I remember telling Clive that I had just seen Barry Humphries in a restaurant. I had gone over to him to say hello, and I'd said, oh, Barry, I was just in Australia, and I thought he'd be interested, and we talked about that for a bit. And I said, as a result, of course, I was very sorry I wasn't able to come to see your latest show. And that deadly, deadly thing happened in his eyes, and he looked at me and he said, yes, almost cancelled when we heard. And I remember thinking I was going to die. And I remember telling Clive about this, and Clive said, oh, Douglas, Barry has thousands of those up his sleeve. He's absolutely lethal. He was far more than a comedian. He was a great genius and a member of a generation of great Australians. And I really do think it's important to say this, because there's really, from that generation, there's only one left, which is Germaine Greer. But a generation of great Australians who left Australia, went round the world, often had some complex relationship back home with their homeland, but who made Australia proud, I think. People who were of extraordinary erudition and culture and wit and wisdom. And I think that was an extraordinary generation. Any country would be proud of them, and Australia should be deeply proud of the sons and daughters that she produced in those years.